The clock is ticking, my friend. One of the most explosive situations of the entire NFL offseason is about to reach its conclusion, and the Philadelphia Eagles want it resolved within days. We're talking about an elite wide receiver, $32 million per year, and a picks war that could redefine the trajectory of at least two franchises in this league. The question every Eagles fan is asking right now: where does A.J. Brown end up? Before I break all of this down for you, if you bleed Eagles green, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now, because this situation could flip at any moment, and you're going to want to be the first to know when it does. Let me start from the top. With the free agency window about to swing wide open, the Philadelphia Eagles front office is in motion. According to Diana Rossini of The Athletic, the Eagles and every team involved in these negotiations want a resolution within days. Not weeks, days. That alone tells you everything about the urgency surrounding this process. Howie Roseman wants to close this chapter before the full free agency frenzy kicks off, and the man sitting at the center of all of it is A.J. Brown, the Eagles' #1 wide receiver, 28 years old, and one of the best players at his position in the entire NFL. The question is, are the Eagles really willing to move on from this guy? And if so, what are they getting back in return? Let me break it all down for you right now. Let's talk first about what's actually at stake here. The asking price from Howie Roseman, according to multiple sources, is a first-round pick and a second-round pick. That's right, 2 high-value draft picks for A.J. Brown. And look, when you break down who this player is and what he brings to an offense, that price isn't outrageous. But the problem is that the main team in the running, the New England Patriots, still views that demand as too steep to pull the trigger. Josina Anderson of The Exhibit reported that the Patriots consider Roseman's asking price too high. At the same time, according to Rossini, the Eagles aren't moving. Philadelphia is holding firm on the price. No discount, no negotiating down. And when you understand the financial logic behind that stance, it starts to make a lot of sense. Let me explain the factor that's giving Roseman all the confidence to hold his ground. Completing this trade before June 1st would be punishing for the Eagles from a salary cap standpoint. In other words, moving Brown before that date generates a massive dead cap hit, a financial penalty that Philadelphia would have to absorb even after sending the player away. That gives the Eagles real leverage. If nobody meets the asking price, the Eagles keep Brown on the roster and manage the situation from there. The urgency belongs to the buyers, not the seller. And Howie Roseman, who understands the cap game better than almost any other GM in this league, knows exactly how to use that to his advantage. So who is actually in the running here? According to Rossini, at least 4 teams are involved: the Patriots, the Ravens, the Chargers, and, although they have since moved on according to Ian Rappaport, the Los Angeles Rams were also evaluated as a potential destination. The Rams, however, just sent a first-round pick to the Kansas City Chiefs in exchange for Trent McDuffie, which makes it very hard to imagine them entering another picks war for Brown on top of that. So, we can cross the Rams off the board. Now, when it comes to the Patriots, there's a very interesting detail here. Ian Rappaport reported that New England is an acceptable destination for Brown himself. That matters, because it's not what happened with Brandon Ayuk back in 2024, when the Patriots couldn't convince the wide receiver to accept Foxborough as his landing spot. Brown, however, would be open to it. And why does that make sense? Because the Patriots are now being led by head coach Mike Vrabel, the same Vrabel who coached Brown with the Tennessee Titans. There's a relationship there, there's trust, and there's the fact that Drake May, New England's quarterback of the future, desperately needs elite weapons around him. The Patriots also recently announced they're releasing Stephon Diggs, creating an obvious and urgent need at wide receiver. With Drake May still on a rookie contract, the window is open for New England to make bold moves right now. The question is, will they pay the price Roseman is asking? So far, the answer has been no. But this situation may be far from simple, my friend. Because according to Rossini, there's a new name in this story: the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert's team is watching this situation closely, and when you look at the Chargers' context, it's easy to see why it makes sense. Los Angeles currently leads the NFL in available cap space. They have money to spend. On top of that, their wide receiver situation creates a real opening. Ladd McConkey is still on his rookie deal, which is a positive, but Quentin Johnston, selected in the first round back in 2023, likely won't have his 5th-year option picked up. Keenan Allen is unsigned heading into what would be his age 34 season. Trey Harris arrived in last year's second round and is still developing. In other words, the Chargers need a true number one wide receiver to put alongside Justin Herbert. And A.J. Brown would be exactly that, an elite playmaker, 28 years old in the prime of his career, capable of instantly transforming Los Angeles' offense. With a projected contract around $32 million per year, the Chargers absolutely have the financial capacity to make it work. The question is whether they're willing to surrender the draft capital Roseman is demanding. And speaking of the Ravens, according to earlier reports, Baltimore remains one of the most likely destinations in this equation. The Ravens have shown consistent interest in Brown throughout this process, and the combination of Lamar Jackson with a top-tier wide receiver would be a compelling proposition, but the Ravens also have their own cap considerations and draft capital to balance. All of this brings us to a bigger question. What if no team meets Roseman's price? What happens to A.J. Brown then? This is actually the most fascinating part of this whole story. If the Eagles can't get the value they believe is fair, they have the option to enter the year with Brown still on the roster and revisit the situation after June 1st, when the financial impact of a trade would be significantly reduced, or they could explore the market again later in the offseason. Howie Roseman has a long track record of knowing exactly when to make his move, whether he's buying or selling. He doesn't tend to blink first. But there's another side to that coin. Carrying A.J. Brown into a new season under a cloud of uncertainty can generate locker room noise, distractions during training camp, and questions that Philadelphia simply doesn't need while trying to build a roster capable of getting back to the Super Bowl. Sometimes the clean break is the right break, and Roseman almost certainly knows that too. At the end of the day, my friend, we're talking about one of the most significant moves of this entire NFL offseason. Whether it's for the Eagles, who need to define the future of one of their most important players, or for the Patriots, Ravens, or Chargers, who could land an absolute weapon on offense. The next few days will reveal a great deal about what Howie Roseman truly wants for Philadelphia in 2026, and about which team blinks first in this draft capital standoff. With all these variables in play, the first and second round asking price, the dead cap penalty before June, and up to 4 teams potentially involved, where do you think A.J. Brown lands next? The Patriots, the Ravens, the Chargers, or does Philadelphia hold on to him longer than anyone expects? Drop your take in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back shortly with the latest updates on this situation, because things can change at any moment.